Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Place. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you had a long day, the kind that stretched out longer than it should have, full of small worries and quiet exhaustion. Or maybe you're the sort of person who simply likes falling asleep to deep thoughts and quiet wonders rather than counting sheep. The sort who finds comfort in learning gentle, dreamy things while the world outside grows still. Either way, tonight's journey is for you, and I'm grateful you've decided to spend a little of your evening here with me. Tonight, we're going to drift together into the soft, shadowy world of nocturnal animals. The creatures of the night. The ones who wake when we begin to grow tired, who slip from hollow trees and quiet burrows just as the last of the daylight melts into a slow, dusky blue. While most of the world is settling down, tucking itself into bed, dimming the lamps and drawing the curtains, an entirely different world begins to wake. A world of soft footfalls in damp leaves. A world of luminous eyes catching just a sliver of moonlight. A world where the whisper of wings replaces the song of birds, and where silence itself becomes a kind of music. Imagine, just for a moment, that you are standing at the edge of a moonlit forest. The air is cool, but not cold. There is a faint scent of pine, of damp earth, of something green and growing. Above you, a thin ribbon of cloud slides across a half-full moon, and the stars seem to lean closer to listen. Somewhere far off, an owl calls. Somewhere closer, a small creature rustles through the underbrush, going about its quiet business as it has done for thousands upon thousands of years. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to walk into the forest. You don't have to identify the sounds. You can simply stand at the edge and let the night unfold around you, soft and slow and endlessly patient. That is the feeling I'd like to bring to you tonight. The feeling of standing at the edge of something gentle and ancient, listening with quiet curiosity. We'll explore the bats that paint sound across the dark sky, the foxes that trot silently along snowy fields, the geckos that climb walls as if gravity were merely a polite suggestion. We'll meet moths with feathered antennae, fireflies with their tiny glowing lanterns, and creatures so small and strange you may never have heard their names before. And as we go, I'll tell you about them softly, like bedtime stories whispered through the quiet, with no rush at all. There is no test at the end of tonight's journey. You don't need to remember anything. You don't even need to stay awake for all of it. In fact, I rather hope you don't. If your eyes grow heavy halfway through and the words begin to blur, that is exactly as it should be. The night is patient. The animals are patient. And so am I. You can simply listen and rest and drift, and that will be enough. Before we begin, let me invite you to settle in. Take a moment to find a position that feels truly comfortable. Adjust your pillow. Smooth out the blanket. Let your shoulders soften away from your ears. If your jaw is clenched, let it loosen. If your hands are tight, let them open just a little. There is nothing to hold on to right now. There is nothing to figure out. There is nothing in this moment that requires effort from you. Take a slow, gentle breath in through your nose and let it out softly through your mouth. And another. And one more, even slower than the last, like a small wave returning to the sea. Notice how the room around you grows quieter the more you breathe. Notice how the noises of your day, all the small obligations and unfinished thoughts, begin to drift backward, like leaves carried away on a stream. They will still be there in the morning if they need to be. But for now, they can wait. If you've been enjoying these long, drifting bedtime journeys, you might gently consider subscribing or leaving a quiet little like before you doze off. It's a small kindness that helps these calm corners of the internet keep glowing softly in the dark, like little lanterns for sleepy travelers. But there's no urgency. The journey continues whether you do or not. Tonight is just for you. So go ahead now. Close your eyes if they're not already closed. Let the moonlight in your imagination grow a little brighter. Let your body grow a little heavier. Let the bed grow a little softer beneath you. Tonight we are going to wander slowly and gently through the velvet hours of the night where owls glide on silent wings and small paws tiptoe through the dew, where eyes shine like tiny sparks in the dark, and where life carries on quietly and wondrously while most of the world is sleeping. There is nothing to do now except be here. There is no rush. You're doing beautifully already just by listening. Let's begin. To begin, let's gently consider what it actually means for an animal to be nocturnal. The word itself comes from a soft, old Latin root meaning of the night, and it refers to creatures whose natural rhythm flows in the opposite direction to ours. While we open our eyes with the first warmth of morning, they are just settling down. While we yawn and stretch into our pillows in the evening, they are stretching their wings, twitching their whiskers, blinking open eyes that have rested all day in some hidden, shadowed nook. They live by the moon and by the cool, dark hours. And there is something quietly comforting in knowing that even when we sleep, the world is not empty. It is simply being lived in by other gentle creatures in their own quiet way. Many nocturnal animals possess a small, secret structure inside their eyes called the tapetum lucidum, a Latin phrase that means bright tapestry. It is a thin, mirror-like layer behind the retina that gathers any stray light and reflects it forward through the eye a second time, giving the animal one more chance to see in the dark. This is what causes that soft, glowing shine in a cat's eyes when a flashlight catches them, or in the eyes of a deer at the edge of a road. It is not a trick or a glow of their own making. It is just light traveling twice. Imagine that. Their eyes work a little like tiny lanterns, catching whatever moonlight or starlight wanders by and turning it into vision. There's something almost poetic about it, the way the night gives them sight, gently and quietly, with whatever light it has to spare. Owls, perhaps the most famous of all nocturnal creatures, have evolved a kind of flying that is almost completely silent. Their feathers are not smooth and crisp like those of a crow or a hawk. Instead, the leading edges of their wing feathers are soft, fringed and feathery, like the edge of a well-loved blanket. As air passes over them, the usual whoosh and rustle of flight is broken into smaller, softer eddies, scattered into something close to silence. This means an owl can drift through the dark only a few meters above a sleeping mouse, and the mouse may never hear it coming. From the ground, it can look almost as if the owl is gliding through a dream rather than the air. A shadow that does not whisper. A shape that moves without sound. Bats, those tiny, fluttering acrobats of the dusk, see the world in a way we will never quite be able to imagine. They send out small, high-pitched calls, far too high for most human ears, and listen for the echoes that bounce back. From these returning sounds, they build a kind of moving map of the world around them. They can tell in the blink of an eye where a tree branches, where a moth flutters, where another bat is gliding past. It is called echolocation, and while the word may sound technical, the experience itself is closer to music. They are essentially singing into the darkness and listening to the dark sing back. Tiny, fast, silver-quick songs, weaving an invisible picture of the night. Foxes, those graceful, copper-colored wanderers, are often more nocturnal than we realize. In the cool blue hours after sunset, they slip from their dens and trot along the soft edges of meadows and gardens, their paws barely making a whisper in the grass. They have remarkable hearing, sensitive enough to detect the small, hidden movements of voles and mice beneath thick layers of snow. There is a particular hunting move they sometimes do. A high, arcing leap with all 4 feet leaving the ground, landing nose first into the snow with quiet precision. From a distance, it looks almost like a gentle dance, a long brushstroke of orange against a pale field. The world is asleep, and the fox moves through it like a small, soft flame. Hedgehogs, those round little wanderers of the European countryside, also carry their lives mostly in the dark. They emerge at dusk, snuffling through gardens, hedgerows, and quiet lanes, looking for slugs, beetles, and the small, soft things that the night brings out of hiding. Their spines, though sharp to the touch, are not malicious. They are simply a soft armor of modified hairs, allowing the hedgehog to curl into a small, prickly ball when it feels worried, and to unroll again, slowly, when it feels safe. There is something deeply soothing about the idea of a creature so well prepared to feel safe, who carries its own gentle protection wherever it goes, and who, when the world feels too loud, simply tucks in and waits for it to grow quiet again. The world of nocturnal animals is full of softness, and one of the softest of all is the moth. Where butterflies belong to the sun, moths belong to the moon. There are far more species of moth than butterfly in the world, and most of them slip through the night air on furred bodies and gently feathered wings. Their antennae are often shaped like tiny, delicate ferns, fanned out to catch the smallest scent on the breeze. A male moth, drifting through a quiet forest, may detect the scent of a single female from miles away, navigating his way through the dark with a kind of slow, dreamy persistence. They carry no harshness. They simply drift as if the night were a long, soft river and they were leaves upon it. Fireflies in many ways are the gentle storytellers of the summer night. They are not flies at all, but a kind of soft-bodied beetle. Within their small abdomens, a tiny chemical reaction takes place, glowing in soft greens and yellows and sometimes even blues, and it is one of the most efficient lights in all of nature. Almost none of the energy is wasted as heat. It is, quite literally, cool light, a small living lantern that carries no flame. They blink in patterns, each species with its own gentle rhythm, like quiet codes whispered across a meadow. A field of fireflies on a warm evening can look almost like the night sky has come down to rest among the grasses, and decided to twinkle there for a while. Cats, even the soft house cats curled at the foot of a bed, are creatures of the twilight by ancient design. Their natural rhythm leans toward the hours of dawn and dusk, a state biologists call crepuscular, which is just a beautiful old word for of the twilight. Their eyes contain many more rod cells than ours, the cells most sensitive to dim light, and they need only a small fraction of the light we do to see clearly. Their pupils can open into wide, dark drinking circles, gathering every glimmer the moonlight will give. When you watch a cat staring into the corner of a quiet room at night, seeing nothing yourself, remember that they are simply living more fully in a world we cannot quite enter. The dark is not dark to them. It is just another shade of day. The opossum, the only marsupial native to North America, also belongs to the velvet hours. They wander through suburban gardens and quiet woods after sunset, looking for fruit, insects, and small forgotten things. They have an extraordinary number of teeth, around 50 in total, more than almost any other land mammal in the region, but they use them mostly for gentle foraging. When alarmed, instead of fighting, they often fall into a kind of involuntary trance. Their bodies grow still, their tongues loll, and they appear for all the world to be peacefully gone. Predators usually lose interest, and after a while the opossum quietly wakes up and continues on its slow nighttime path. There is something rather lovely in that, a small creature whose first defense is simply to rest, deeply and convincingly, until the trouble has passed. The eye, a strange and dreamy creature found only in the forests of Madagascar, belongs entirely to the night. It is a kind of lemur, with enormous round eyes, large papery ears, and a single long, bony middle finger that it uses to tap on tree bark, listening for the soft, hollow sounds of grubs hiding underneath. When it finds one, it gnaws a small hole and gently hooks the grub out with that long, thin finger. Local folklore has sometimes treated the eye with suspicion, simply because it is unusual to look at. But in truth it is a quiet, gentle wanderer, drifting alone through dark canopies, listening to the conversations of the trees. There is a kind of deep, careful patience in the way it lives, the way it taps and listens and waits, and trusts the night to provide. Wolves, of course, are creatures of the long blue hours as well. While they hunt during many parts of the day and night, the great choruses of wolf song most often rise in the cool stillness after sunset and before sunrise. Their howls are not lonely cries, as old stories sometimes suggest. They are conversations. They are gentle ways of saying, "I am here, and we are together, and all is well in our part of the forest." A wolf pack singing across a snowy valley is one of the oldest, most beautiful sounds in the world, a layered, drifting harmony that rises and falls like slow weather. It is the sound of belonging, sent out into the dark. The barn owl, with its pale, heart-shaped face and almost otherworldly silence, is one of the most extraordinary listeners in the animal world. Its ears are not symmetrical. One sits slightly higher than the other, and this small, gentle imbalance gives the owl an extremely precise sense of where a sound is coming from. By comparing the tiny differences in when a sound reaches each ear, it can pinpoint the rustle of a mouse beneath dry leaves, even in complete darkness. Imagine being able to find your way home by sound alone, drawing a map in your mind out of whispers. That is the world of the barn owl, a quiet, patient world of careful listening, where no sound is too small to matter. Raccoons, those curious little bandits of moonlit alleys and forest streams, are remarkably gentle when allowed to live their own quiet lives. They are deeply tactile creatures, with paws so sensitive that they can recognize objects almost as well by touch as by sight. They often dip their food in water not to wash it, but because the water seems to enhance the sensory information their paws receive, helping them feel and understand what they have found. Their wandering nightly walks can take them through gardens, riverbanks, and quiet rooftops, all explored with the same calm curiosity. There is a small, contented thoughtfulness in the way a raccoon turns an object slowly between its paws, as if it is asking the night, "What is this? What are you?" Tarsiers, tiny primates from the islands of Southeast Asia, have eyes so large in proportion to their bodies that each eye is roughly the size of their entire brain. They cannot move their eyes within their sockets the way we do, but they can swivel their heads almost all the way around, like a small, fluffy owl. They live in the soft tropical nights, leaping from branch to branch in great, springy bounds, listening to the high-pitched calls of insects and one another. There's a kind of quiet wonder in something so small having such oversized windows on the world, as if their tiny bodies are mostly there to carry the eyes that gather all the little glimmers of moonlight slipping through the leaves. The kakapo, a heavy, flightless parrot from New Zealand, is one of the world's strangest and most lovable nocturnal birds. They are the heaviest parrots in the world, with soft, mossy green feathers that blend into the forest floor. They cannot fly, but they climb trees with surprising patience, using their beaks and clawed feet, and then sometimes parachute back down with their wings spread wide. They are gentle, slow, and curious by nature, and their courtship songs are deep, booming calls that travel for kilometers through the night. To imagine a soft, round parrot inflating its chest in a hidden hollow, sending out low, drum-like notes into the dark, is to imagine one of the most peculiar lullabies in nature. A song no one composed, drifting through old, mossy forests under the southern stars. Many nocturnal creatures rely on a sense of smell that is far richer than our own. Skunks, for example, have noses so finely tuned that they can find grubs and beetles deep beneath layers of soil and leaves. They potter along quietly in the dusk, sniffing as they go, leaving little scrapes in the earth where they have been searching. Their famous defense, a finely aimed spray, is almost always a last resort. They will stomp their feet, raise their tails, and give plenty of warning, asking in their own way, simply to be left alone. Most of the time, they are just slow, soft creatures with stripes, going about their evening, uninterested in anyone except the small things hiding beneath the soil. Crickets fill the warm summer nights with their soft chorus, a sound so familiar to so many places on earth that it can feel like the voice of night itself. Their songs are made not by their voices, but by rubbing the edges of their wings together, a process called stridulation. The temperature of the air changes the rhythm of their chirping, so that on warm nights they call faster, and on cooler nights they slow down, almost as if the night itself were dictating the tempo. There is even an old folk method of estimating temperature by counting cricket chirps. Whether or not it is precise, there is something deeply lovely in the idea of a small creature whose song moves with the weather, a gentle thermometer made of wings and quiet music. Let's pause here just for a soft moment before we drift on. Notice your breath gently coming in and going out. There is no need to change it, just allow it to do what it has always known how to do. In and out like the tide, like the slow rocking of a boat on still water. Imagine that all around you in the great soft darkness of the world, small lives are unfolding kindly on their own. Owls are gliding, foxes are walking, moths are drifting toward the tiniest light, crickets are singing without rush. None of them are trying to be anything other than what they are. None of them are anxious about tomorrow. They are simply living their nighttime, the way you are simply listening, here in your bed, beneath your soft blanket with your head on a soft pillow. You don't need to be productive right now. You don't need to figure anything out. You are allowed completely to rest. Tonight, your only task is to let yourself be carried slowly, gently, into sleep. The way a leaf is carried by a slow stream, the way a moth is carried by a soft breeze, the way the moon is carried very, very slowly across the patient sky. You're doing wonderfully. There is no rush at all. Now let yourself drift on with me into the next quiet stretch of the night. The nightjar, sometimes called the goatsucker because of an old, mistaken folk tale, is one of those animals whose gentleness is matched only by its strangeness. It rests during the day on a branch or even directly on a forest floor, its mottled brown and gray feathers blending so perfectly with bark and leaves that it almost disappears. At dusk, it lifts into the air and flies in long, soft loops, mouth open wide to catch insects on the wing. Some nightjars produce a long, churring call that rolls through the forest like a tiny engine of the night, surprisingly steady, surprisingly soothing. To hear a nightjar at twilight is to hear the world quietly handing the day over to the night, with a soft rolling hum. Sea turtles, ancient and gentle travelers of the oceans, often choose the cool darkness of night to come ashore and lay their eggs. Under starlight, the female hauls her great body up the sand with slow, deliberate movements, digs a careful nest, and lays her eggs one by one before covering them gently and returning to the sea. Many weeks later, again at night, the tiny hatchlings emerge and scuttle toward the water, guided by the soft glow of the horizon over the waves. Imagine, if you can, hundreds of small flippers moving across the cool sand under a thin slice of moon, all heading toward the patient, breathing sea. There is a deep, ancient kindness in that scene, repeated for millions of years, in a rhythm older than memory. Pangolins, those gentle armored wanderers of Africa and Asia, are mostly nocturnal. Their bodies are covered in overlapping scales made of keratin, the same material as our fingernails, so that their armor is essentially a long, beautiful coat of soft, sturdy plates. They have no teeth. Instead, they use their long, sticky tongues to gather ants and termites from beneath the ground. When frightened, they curl into a perfect, almost geometric ball, tucking their soft underbelly within. There is something quietly humbling about a pangolin. They harm nothing, ask for very little, and travel through the dark forests of the world like small, scaled poets, leaving no trace except a careful scrape along the earth. Kiwis, the small, round, flightless birds of New Zealand, live almost entirely by night. Their feathers are more like long, shaggy hair than the smooth, sleek feathers of most birds, giving them the look of small, kind, walking tufts of moss. Unlike most birds, the kiwi has nostrils at the very tip of its long beak, and uses them to sniff out earthworms and insects beneath the leaf litter. They snuffle and probe through the forest floor in the dark, more like little furry mammals than the typical idea of a bird. Their eggs are unusually large in proportion to their bodies, and they live in burrows tucked beneath the roots of old trees. To imagine a kiwi padding softly through a damp forest at midnight, sniffing among the ferns, is to imagine the very softest version of a wandering shadow. The tawny frogmouth, a bird often mistaken for an owl, has a face shaped almost like a small, surprised piece of bark. By day it sits perfectly still on a branch, eyes closed to slits, blending so seamlessly with the wood that it is often missed entirely. By night it springs into a careful, patient hunter, darting out from its perch to catch moths and beetles. Its call is a low, repeated "um-um-um," soft enough that one might mistake it for the heartbeat of the forest itself. There is a deep stillness in this creature, a quality of holding very, very still until just the right moment, that feels almost like a meditation in feathers. Lastly, in this gentle stretch, let's think for a moment about the simple raccoon dog, an animal that looks rather like a soft cross between a raccoon and a small fox. Native to parts of East Asia and now found in some parts of Europe as well, they wander mostly at night, in pairs, through forests, riverbanks, and quiet edges of fields. They eat almost anything they find: fruit, insects, small frogs, fallen seeds, and they are one of the few canids known to take long, deep winter rests, almost like a soft hibernation. They are quiet animals, rarely heard, rarely seen, going about their nightly business in pairs, side by side, padding through the cool grass of forgotten meadows. The great horned owl, with its tufted horns that are not horns at all but small clusters of feathers, is one of the most widespread owls of the Americas. Its call is the deep, soft hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, a voice you may already recognize from old films and quiet documentaries. Its eyes are enormous, fixed forward, and so large that if a human had eyes of equal proportion, they would each be about the size of an orange. Because the owl cannot move its eyes within their sockets, it has evolved an extraordinary neck, capable of turning around far further than ours. It can rotate its head about 270 degrees in either direction, looking nearly behind itself with a single calm, unhurried turn. There is something almost meditative in the way an owl looks at the world, slowly, deliberately, missing nothing. Geckos, those small, sticky-toed climbers found in warm corners of the globe, are mostly nocturnal. Their toes are covered in millions of tiny hair-like structures called setae, each ending in even smaller branches, and these allow the gecko to grip surfaces using a delicate, near-magical force at the molecular level. They can climb glass, walk upside down across ceilings, and pause in mid-step to look around as if they have all the time in the world, which, in their soft nighttime, they very nearly do. Many geckos chirp and click softly to one another in the dark. To listen to a gecko's gentle chirp from across a quiet room is to hear something old and warm, a small voice from the corners of the world. Sugar gliders, tiny marsupials of Australia and New Guinea, glide silently through the canopy of the night. They have a thin membrane of skin stretched between their wrists and ankles, and when they leap from a tree, they spread their limbs wide and sail softly through the air, sometimes for distances of 50 meters or more, gliding rather than flying. Their large round eyes give them excellent night vision, and their soft, gray and cream coats blend into the bark and shadow of the trees. They live in small, close-knit family groups, snuggling together in tree hollows by day, and gliding out together by night to feed on nectar, sap, and small insects. There is something dreamy in the very idea of a creature whose primary way of moving is gentle, controlled falling, turning the night air into a soft, sliding playground. The slow loris, a small primate from Southeast Asia, lives up entirely to its name. It moves through the canopy with extraordinary fluid slowness, climbing branch by branch with deliberate, careful gentleness. Its enormous eyes drink in every glimmer of moonlight, and it spends its quiet life mostly alone, feeding on insects, fruit, tree gum, and small flowers. It is among the few mammals that produces a kind of mild venom, mixing a gland secretion under its arms with its saliva, but it almost never uses this, except in moments of true threat. Most of the time, the slow loris simply moves through the night the way a soft cloud moves across the moon, slowly, kindly taking its time. Sloths, while sometimes mistaken as purely diurnal, are also often active during the cooler dusk and night hours, especially in the deep tropical forests where they live. They move so slowly that algae actually grow on their fur, giving them a soft greenish tint that helps them blend into the leaves around them. Their hearts beat slowly. Their breaths are slow. Their digestion is slow. Their entire lives are an unhurried meditation on the kindness of doing things gently. To watch a sloth move through the canopy, branch by branch, in the cool blue of early evening, is to be reminded that there is no need to rush anywhere ever. The world will hold us either way. Echidnas, small spiny mammals from Australia and New Guinea, are most active at twilight and during the cool nighttime hours, especially when the days grow warm. They are among the very few egg-laying mammals in the world, alongside the platypus, and they snuffle through the underbrush with long, sensitive snouts, searching for ants and termites. Their spines, like a hedgehog's, are simply modified hairs, and they often shuffle along quietly, half hidden in dry grass and fallen leaves. They are unobtrusive, content, and curious in their slow way. The world has not changed them in a long, long time. They are simply old, soft creatures of the night, content to be exactly what they are. The cuscus, another marsupial of the New Guinean and Australian forests, looks rather like a small, round, sleepy bear with a long, curling tail. Its fur is soft, sometimes speckled, sometimes pure cream, and it spends its nights climbing slowly through the high branches, eating leaves and fruit. Its tail is prehensile, meaning it can grip and hold like an extra hand, and the cuscus often hangs gently from a branch by its tail while it reaches for food. By day, it curls into a ball in the crook of a tree, half hidden among the leaves, breathing softly, its eyes half closed. There is something deeply peaceful about a creature that lives most of its life either softly climbing or softly sleeping, with very little in between. The pygmy possum, smaller than a human thumb in some cases, is among the tiniest mammals in the world. These miniature marsupials live in Australia, scampering through the underbrush and flowering shrubs in the dark, lapping nectar from blossoms with their long, narrow tongues. They are so light that they can land on a slender flower stem without making it bend much, and so soft and quick that they leave almost no trace of their passing. Some species can enter a state called torpor, slowing their bodies down and sleeping deeply through the colder hours, conserving every small drop of energy. They are tiny dreamers of the night, the kind of creature easy to overlook, but easy to love once you notice. Bush babies, also called galagos, are small primates from Africa with enormous round eyes and very large, mobile ears. They leap through the trees in long, springy jumps, sometimes traveling several meters in a single bound, twisting and turning in midair as if gravity were merely a suggestion. Their cries echo through African forests at night, sometimes high and bright, sometimes low and mournful, sounding rather like the soft cries of a human child. This is, in fact, the origin of their common name. They live in small groups, communicate with one another by scent and sound, and spend their days curled together in tree hollows, only fully waking when the soft dusk begins to gather. The numbat, a small striped marsupial of Western Australia, is unusual in that it is mostly active during the day, but its cousins and many of its forest neighbors fill the night around its sleeping burrow. While the numbat dozes by night, much of the rest of the small bush life buzzes and shuffles around it, in a kind of silent agreement that the world is large enough for everyone, that day and night belong to all in turn. There is something quiet and lovely about that gentle sharing of time, where one creature wakes as another rests, in an endless rotation as old as the spinning earth itself. Civets, small, slender, cat-like animals of Africa and Asia, are largely creatures of the night. They have long bodies, soft striped or spotted fur, and gentle, pointed faces. They wander quietly through forests and gardens, eating fruit, small animals, and sometimes the soft berries of coffee plants, contributing in their own way to the ancient ecology of the lands they inhabit. They are mostly solitary, mostly silent, and mostly unseen, slipping through the darkness with cautious grace. Their world is one of trees touched with starlight, of trails marked by faint scent, of long, careful walks under quiet skies. They do not need to be famous to be remarkable. They simply walk their nighttime, gently and well. The platypus, while sometimes active in the early evening or before dawn, is most often described as crepuscular and nocturnal, a creature of the deep blue hours. Its soft fur is waterproof. Its bill is rubbery and full of electroreceptors that can sense the tiny electrical signals given off by its prey beneath the water. They hunt by closing their eyes, ears, and nostrils underwater, relying entirely on their sensitive bills to find shrimp and small invertebrates in the muddy creek beds. To imagine a small, fur-covered animal swimming gently through dark water with eyes closed, navigating only by feeling the faint signals of life around it, is to imagine a kind of underwater dreaming, soft and wordless and slow. The badger, a robust, low-bodied creature found across many parts of the world, is largely nocturnal, especially in regions where it shares space with people. Their long claws are designed for slow, patient digging, and their underground homes, called setts, can be enormous, multi-chambered burrows passed down through generations of badgers. Some setts have been used for over 100 years, with each generation adding tunnels, rooms, and resting chambers. By night, the badgers shuffle out through familiar paths, sniffing for earthworms, beetles, and roots. By day, they sleep deeply in their cozy underground rooms, surrounded by dry grass and gentle quiet. Imagine a home so loved that it has been added to for a century, by hands that never wanted anything more than warmth and rest. The Olm, a strange and dreamy salamander of the deep cave waters of Europe, is in its own way a nocturnal creature, although for it every hour is night. It spends its entire life in lightless underground rivers, never knowing daylight at all. Its skin is pale, almost translucent, and it has feathery red gills that flutter softly along its neck. It can live more than 100 years and may go for many years between meals. Its eyes have been almost entirely lost to the darkness, but its other senses are deeply tuned to the slow movement of water around it. To imagine a creature whose entire existence is gentle, dim, and unhurried, drifting in cool darkness for a lifetime, is to imagine a kind of perpetual quiet that few of us could ever truly know. The fennec fox, a tiny desert dweller of North Africa, has enormous ears in proportion to its body, large soft fans that help radiate excess heat away during the day. By night, when the sand cools, the fennec slips out of its burrow and trots across the dunes in search of insects, small rodents, and roots. Its fur is the soft color of sand at twilight, and its eyes are dark and luminous in the moonlight. It can survive on very little water, drawing most of what it needs from the food it finds. There's something otherworldly about imagining a fennec fox sitting on the crest of a dune, ears tilted up, listening to the tiniest movements of the desert under a wide, starry sky. Many species of shark are more active at night, drifting through dark currents in the deep, still ocean. Some, like the nurse shark, rest gently on the seafloor by day and rise up to hunt slowly by night, sliding among coral and rock with smooth, silent movements. Their world is one of muted color and soft pressure, where echolocation is unnecessary, but where the slow vibrations of the water carry endless information to their finely tuned senses. Imagine a long, smooth body gliding effortlessly through a dim sea, brushing past sea fans and sleeping fish, never hurrying, never struggling. The sea at night is its own kind of slow dream. Owls of the boreal forest, such as the great gray owl, have feathered legs and feet, even down to their toes, which keeps them warm during the long, frigid nights of the northern world. They can hunt in deep snow, dropping straight down through powdery layers to catch a vole that rustled below. They are quiet, patient hunters, capable of perching for hours in a single spot, listening, waiting, conserving energy. Their facial discs, those round circular patterns of feathers around their eyes, act like soft satellite dishes, gathering sound and directing it inward. To watch a great gray owl in the snow is to watch a creature so well shaped to its world that it seems carved from the cold itself, a piece of winter that decided to fly. Then there is the night monkey, the only true nocturnal monkey in the world. They live in the forests of Central and South America, with large, gentle eyes that catch the faintest moonlight. They are monogamous, often living in small family groups, and they communicate softly with hoots and gentle whistles in the dark canopy. By day, they rest in tree hollows. By night, they leap and climb among the branches, eating fruit, leaves, and small insects. They hold one another, groom one another, sleep curled together in soft little families, and live their entire lives in the gentleness of treetops at night. There are not many true nocturnal monkeys, but somehow, knowing that even some of our distant primate relatives have chosen the night feels deeply comforting, like a quiet acknowledgement that the dark is also a place to belong. Take a moment now, if you'd like, to soften your awareness of the room around you. Notice how your body feels against the bed or the chair or wherever you happen to be resting. Notice the warmth where the blanket touches your skin. Notice the slow, soft rise and fall of your own breath, like a small tide that has never once forgotten how to come and go. If your mind has wandered, that's perfectly all right. Wandering minds are very welcome here. Like little night creatures, thoughts may slip through the underbrush of your awareness, pause, look around, and continue on their own quiet path. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to scold them. You can just let them go, the way the forest lets the fox pass through. Outside somewhere, a creature is moving softly through the dark right now. Maybe an owl drifting along the edge of a field. Maybe a hedgehog snuffling through a damp garden. Maybe a moth fluttering close to a quiet streetlight. The world is full of gentle lives going on without your help, asking nothing from you tonight. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to let the words wash over you like soft water. You are allowed to fall asleep at any moment. There is no wrong way to be here. There is only this slow, kind night and your slow, kind breath and the next gentle thought drifting in. Let's continue softly together. The colugo, sometimes called the flying lemur even though it is neither a true lemur nor capable of flying, lives in the forests of Southeast Asia. It has a remarkable membrane of skin that stretches from its neck to its fingertips, toes, and tail, forming a great gentle parachute when it spreads its limbs. By night, it leaps from tree trunks and glides for impressive distances, sometimes more than 100 meters, drifting almost weightlessly through the dim canopy. Its eyes are large and round, perfectly suited to the dim filtered moonlight beneath the leaves. It eats young leaves, shoots, and flowers with a slow, contented patience. There is something wonderfully quiet about the colugo's life. suspended between flight and rest, drifting like a soft gray paper kite through the warm tropical dark. The owlet moth, a kind of moth named for its slightly fluffy, owl-like appearance, is one of the most common moths drawn to outdoor lights in the evening. Its dust-colored wings are soft and rounded, and its body is plump and furred. Many species can hear the high-pitched echolocation calls of bats and have evolved sudden, jerky flight patterns to evade them, dropping or spinning out of the way at the very last instant. Imagine a tiny silent dance unfolding above a meadow, between bat and moth, both unseen by us, both perfectly attuned to one another. The world is full of these invisible, gentle conversations that happen entirely in the dark. Many species of frog are most active at night, when humidity is high and the air is cool. The chorus of frogs around a pond on a warm summer night is one of the great soundscapes of the natural world, a layered tapestry of croaks, peeps, trills, and soft, echoing thrums. Each species has its own distinct call, and by listening carefully, one can sometimes pick out 3 or 4 different conversations happening at once. Frog skin is delicate and sensitive, and many breathe partly through it, taking in oxygen from cool, damp air. Imagine a small frog sitting half submerged in still water, eyes shining like tiny dark beads, simply being in the night with nothing to do but breathe. Some moths, like the famous Luna moth of North America, live as adults for only about a week. They emerge from their cocoons with no functioning mouthparts, unable to eat, surviving on the energy stored from their caterpillar days. Their large, pale green wings drift through the warm summer night with the silence of a soft thought, carrying long, ribboned tails behind them. Their entire purpose in their brief adult lives is to find one another to mate, to lay eggs, and to fade gently away. There is something deeply tender in the idea of a creature spending most of its life slowly preparing for one short, beautiful night flight, and then quietly letting go. Vampire bats, despite their dramatic name, are surprisingly social and gentle in their own communities. They live in the warm forests of Central and South America, and they feed on small amounts of blood from sleeping animals, usually without the animal even waking. What is most touching about them, though, is that vampire bats often share food with one another. A bat that has had a good night may regurgitate a small portion of blood for a roost mate that did not eat, especially one it knows well. They form long-lasting bonds and seem to remember which of their companions have helped them in the past. There is a quiet kindness in their small communities, a soft web of mutual care, hidden in the velvet darkness of forest caves. The genet, another small, slender cat-like creature of Africa and Europe, slips through forests and rocky landscapes by night. It has a long, ringed tail, a sleek spotted body, and large, attentive eyes. They are agile climbers and patient hunters, often moving through trees with the silent grace of something between a cat and a marten. They are mostly solitary, communicating through scent rather than sound, leaving small invisible messages along their nightly routes. Imagine a slim, soft creature picking its careful way along a low stone wall in the moonlight, pausing to listen, then continuing on, content to simply be where it is, doing what it has always done. Cane toads, large amphibians often considered with mixed feelings due to their introduction in many areas, nonetheless go about their nightly lives with their own slow rhythm. They emerge at dusk from cool hiding places, sitting under streetlights and porch lamps where insects gather. Their bodies are heavy, their movements slow and steady, and their eyes shine faintly in the lamplight. They live a quiet, patient kind of existence, often spending whole nights waiting for prey to wander by. Whatever their complicated story in human ecology, the toad itself has no quarrel with the world. It just sits, breathes, and waits in its slow, froggish way. Glowworms, found in caves and damp forests in various parts of the world, are not really worms at all, but the larvae of certain flies and beetles. They produce a soft, ghostly bluish-green light to attract small flying insects, which then become tangled in the fine, sticky threads they hang from cave ceilings. To enter a glowworm cave is to enter what feels like an upside-down sky, a slow constellation of pale dots glimmering above your head, with no sun, no moon, just the gentle living lights of patient little creatures. There is a deep, dreamy stillness in those caves, a stillness that has lasted for ages, lit only by the soft glow of small bodies in the dark. Many wild rabbits and hares are most active during the early evening, the dusk, and the deep night, especially in places where they share space with humans. They rely on their long ears and large lateral eyes to keep watch in nearly every direction at once. Their hopping movements are designed to be both quick and quiet, soft thumps in the grass, barely audible against the night. They graze in moonlit meadows, calmly cropping clover and tender shoots, ears swiveling at every faint sound. There is something deeply gentle in the image of a hare paused in a moonlit field, perfectly still, listening, then leaning down once more to nibble peacefully at the grass. Dormice, those small, sweet-faced rodents of European forests and hedgerows, sleep through much of their lives. They are mostly nocturnal during their active months, climbing through bushes and trees in search of fruit, seeds, and insects. But they also enter true hibernation, curling tightly into tiny balls inside a small nest of woven leaves, sometimes for half the year or more. Their hearts slow, their bodies cool, and they breathe so softly that they appear almost not to be breathing at all. To imagine a dormouse sleeping through an entire winter, tucked deep in a hidden nest, is to imagine the very heart of cozy rest itself, a small, warm body surrendered completely to sleep. The aardvark, a creature of the African savanna and woodlands, looks rather like a slow, gentle blend between a pig, a kangaroo, and a rabbit, with long ears and a long, tubular snout. By night, it digs powerful burrows and forages for ants and termites, lapping them up with a long, sticky tongue. Its name comes from old Afrikaans words meaning earth pig, and indeed it is deeply a creature of the soil, of underground rooms, of soft tunnels. It is mostly solitary, mostly silent, and mostly hidden, going about its slow, steady work in the cool, dark hours. The world above goes quiet, and below the soil the aardvark continues calmly, patiently, with no need for an audience. The bilby, a small marsupial of the Australian deserts, has long, soft ears like little silken petals, and a soft gray-blue fur that almost glimmers in the moonlight. By day, it sleeps in deep, spiral burrows that stay cool even in the heat of the desert sun. By night, it emerges to dig small foraging holes in the sand, looking for seeds, insects, and roots. Its long ears help it hear faint movements and also help to keep it cool. There is something especially tender about the bilby, a small, soft creature carrying out its life in one of the world's harshest landscapes, simply by being patient, by being quiet, by waiting for the heat to fade and the sand to cool and the kind dark to come. Crocodiles, especially in warm climates, often hunt and travel during the cool of the night. They float almost motionless on the surface of dark rivers and quiet lagoons, only their eyes and nostrils above the water, perfectly patient, perfectly still. They have a special second eyelid, a transparent membrane that slides across the eye underwater like a soft natural lens. While they are remarkable predators, much of their lives is spent in stillness, basking, drifting, simply existing. There is a kind of strange peace in considering a creature that has lived in essentially the same form for over 100 million years, drifting still, in warm, dark waters, while empires above have come and gone. The mole, a small velvet-furred mammal that lives almost entirely underground, doesn't strictly experience night and day in the way we do. Its world is constant darkness, with only the faint warmth of the soil to mark the seasons. Its eyes are tiny, often barely functional, and its nose and whiskers do nearly all the work of navigation. It pushes its way through complex tunnel systems with strong, broad paws, hunting earthworms and small invertebrates as it goes. Its small, busy life happens unseen, beneath the gardens and meadows of the world, every minute of it spent in a quiet, dim hush. The mole reminds us that stillness above ground does not mean stillness everywhere. Even now, beneath some quiet field, a small, soft creature is working calmly through the dark. Many species of catfish are most active during the night, gliding through dim river beds and quiet lake bottoms, using their long, sensitive whiskers, called barbels, to feel for food in the silty dark. The barbels are covered in tiny taste buds, allowing the fish to taste the water around it almost like a kind of slow chemical music. They can navigate in nearly complete darkness, finding small worms, insects, and crustaceans entirely by feel and taste. There is something wonderfully meditative in the idea of a fish drifting calmly through dark water, sensing the world not through eyes, but through gentle, slow touch and taste. Owls' eyes, as we mentioned, are extraordinary, but it's worth pausing on the fact that they are also tube-shaped rather than spherical. This is part of why owls cannot move their eyes the way we do. The tube shape allows for a longer focal distance, helping the owl see clearly at greater distances in low light. Yet despite this advantage in distance vision, owls are actually somewhat farsighted in close range. They rely on small, soft, bristle-like feathers around their beaks to feel their food when it is very close to their faces. So even an owl, with all its quiet majesty, must rely on touch in the smallest moments. There is something tender about that, something kindly humbling. The ringtail, sometimes called the miner's cat, is a small relative of the raccoon found in the southwestern United States and Mexico. It has enormous round eyes, a long ringed tail almost as long as its body, and the agility of an acrobat. It can rotate its hind feet by up to 180 degrees, allowing it to climb down trees and rocks headfirst with extraordinary balance. By night, it travels through canyons and cliffs with effortless grace, hunting small rodents and insects. Old miners are said to have kept ringtails as friendly companions in their cabins, since the small creatures quietly helped keep mice away. There is something very comforting in the image of a soft-furred, big-eyed creature curled near a low fire, while outside the desert night murmured on under cold stars. The wombat, a sturdy, low-slung marsupial of Australia, is largely nocturnal. It digs extensive burrow systems and emerges at dusk to graze on grasses and roots. One of its most charming features, perhaps quietly famous, is that its droppings are roughly cube-shaped. This is thought to be the result of the unique elasticity of its intestines and may help the droppings stay where the wombat places them, which it uses to mark territory. But beyond that small curiosity, the wombat is simply a calm, sleepy creature, content to graze and dig, sleep and shuffle in the long blue hours of the southern night. They are slow, gentle, and gloriously unbothered. And there is so much to learn from creatures like that, who simply live where they are, with deep simplicity. The flying squirrel, despite its dramatic name, does not truly fly. Like the colugo, it glides, using a soft membrane of skin stretched between its wrists and ankles. It leaps from a high branch, spreads its limbs wide, and sails silently through the cool night air, using its flat tail to steer. Some species can glide more than 50 meters in a single drop. By day, they sleep curled in tree hollows or old woodpecker holes, often in small, warm groups. By night, they explore the canopy, snacking on nuts, fruit, and seeds. Imagine a small, fluffy creature suspended for a moment between the dark earth and the dark sky, as soft as a falling leaf, gliding from one tree to another. The night is full of these small, secret flights. Among the kindest and quietest of nocturnal hunters is the spectral tarsier, found on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Like other tarsiers, it has eyes far too large for its tiny face, and it leaps among the branches with sudden grace. What is especially lovely is that small family groups of spectral tarsiers often sing together at dawn and dusk, producing a layered chorus of high, complex calls. Each member of the family has its own distinct part. They sing as if to claim their patch of forest, but also, perhaps, simply to greet one another, to acknowledge the closing of the night or the soft beginning of it. A duet of tiny voices in a tree in the cool, dim hours is one of the most touching natural music pieces one could imagine. Honey badgers, despite their fierce reputation, are also largely nocturnal and live their lives in their own quiet way. They have thick, loose skin that hangs almost like a coat, allowing them to twist within it. They dig powerful burrows and travel long distances at night, foraging for honey, insects, snakes, and small mammals. They are remarkably tough, but most of the time they are simply quiet diggers and walkers, padding through African and Asian landscapes under wide, starry skies. Their lives are almost meditative in routine: dig, walk, eat, rest, dig, walk, eat, rest, in a simple rhythm that has worked for them for a very long time. The fishing cat, a medium-sized wild cat of Asia, hunts in marshes, swamps, and along the edges of rivers, mostly at night. Unlike most cats who tend to dislike water, the fishing cat is comfortable in shallow streams and even short swims. It has slightly webbed paws and waterproof fur, and it patiently watches for fish, frogs, and water birds. It will sometimes tap the surface of the water gently with a paw, mimicking the small ripples of an insect, drawing fish closer before swiftly catching them. To imagine a soft-spotted cat sitting at the edge of a still moonlit river, paw tapping a quiet rhythm against the water, is to imagine a kind of musical fishing, a delicate conversation between predator and current. The nocturnal sword-grass moth, the giant atlas moth, and many other large moths around the world are reminders of just how vast and varied the moth family is. The atlas moth, found in tropical Asia, has wings spanning up to nearly 30 centimeters, making it one of the largest moths in the world. It is so large that in flight it can be mistaken for a small bird in the dim light. Yet despite its impressive size, it is gentle, slow-moving, and short-lived as an adult. It cannot eat, much like the Luna moth, and survives only as long as its body can carry the energy stored from its caterpillar days. Its huge soft wings carry markings that some say resemble snake heads at the tips, perhaps to discourage predators. Soft, slow, brief, beautiful, the atlas moth is a kind of whispered drift through the warm tropical dark. Many species of squid are also creatures of the night, especially deep-sea species that rise toward the surface during the dark hours and descend again by day. The glowing patterns along their bodies, called bioluminescence, allow them to communicate, camouflage, or attract prey, all without ever leaving the sea. In some places, their nightly vertical migrations are among the largest animal movements on Earth, vast, silent rivers of glowing creatures rising and falling in the open ocean every single night. Imagine that, just for a moment, a vertical current of soft, glowing life moving up through the deep, simply because the sun has set. Let yourself sink a little deeper now. Imagine the bed beneath you growing softer. Imagine your breath becoming slower and quieter, like a small flame settling at the base of a candle. Notice how very still the room is. Notice how kind that stillness can be when you let it in. The world is wide. The world is full of so many lives drifting through their own gentle night times. Squid glowing softly in deep seas. Fishing cats tapping at quiet rivers. Tiny tarsiers singing at the edge of dawn. Soft-furred creatures padding through forests, deserts, marshes, and fields. None of them are anxious about the next moment. None of them are second-guessing themselves. They are simply living in their kind, instinctive way exactly where they are. You can do the same just for tonight. You can simply be here. You can let your body grow heavy, soft, warm. You can let your thoughts drift, slow as moths, and let any worries settle out of you, like dust falling gently to the bottom of a still glass. There is nothing to do now. There is nothing to be. You are allowed to be exactly as you are in this moment, listening to a quiet voice in a quiet room as the night carries on. Whether you are awake, half asleep, or already dreaming, you are exactly where you need to be. Let's drift on very gently. The paddymmelon, a small marsupial of Australia and Tasmania, is mostly active at dusk and through the night. It is shaped a little like a small, round wallaby, with soft brown-gray fur and large, gentle eyes. By day, it tucks itself away in dense undergrowth, often in deep ferns or low shrubs. By night, it slips out into clearings and forest edges to graze quietly. Its movements are soft hops, more like polite curtsies than the great bounding leaps of a kangaroo. Watching a paddymmelon nibble its way slowly across a moonlit meadow is a little like watching a small cloud move across the lawn, unhurried, unbothered kind. The skunk's famous scent gland, while perhaps best known for its strong odor, is also remarkable in its precision. The skunk can aim quite accurately, even sending a thin stream over a distance of several meters. Yet again, this is almost always a last resort. Skunks generally prefer to give long warnings, stamping their feet, raising their tails, and twirling around dramatically before any spray. They are in many ways gentle communicators, asking the world over and over in their small striped way, simply to be left alone. They wander quietly through cornfields and gardens, eating insects, fruit, and small rodents, content to live their lives without conflict whenever possible. Common house cats, while sometimes thought of as fully domestic and predictable, often retain strong nocturnal and crepuscular tendencies. Many cat owners notice that their cats become more active in the soft hours of the morning and evening, and sometimes again in the deep middle of the night. This is not random. It is a quiet echo of the wild ancestors who hunted small rodents in those exact hours. When your cat sits at a window in the moonlight, eyes wide, you are seeing a creature still tuned to the long, ancient rhythm of the dark. There is something gentle about that thought, that even the warmest, fluffiest cat curled at the foot of your bed is keeping a small piece of the wild night alive in your home. The bush pig, a wild relative of the domestic pig found in parts of Africa, is mostly nocturnal in regions where it shares space with humans. It moves through forests and grasslands in family groups, called sounders, snuffling through the underbrush for roots, fruits, insects, and small animals. Their thick, bristly coats and stocky bodies are well suited to life in dense vegetation, and they communicate with one another through grunts and soft squeals. Imagine a small group of these animals walking nose to tail along a moonlit forest trail, calmly going about the night's business, knowing exactly where to step, exactly where to turn, by long memory and gentle scent. The European nightingale, while a bird that also sings during the day, is perhaps most famous for its songs in the velvet hours after sunset. Its rich, complex melodies are produced by a single small bird tucked into a thicket or hedgerow, often unseen. The song can last for many minutes at a time, weaving high notes, low notes, trills, whistles, and pauses into a pattern that feels improvised yet perfectly composed. For thousands of years, poets and listeners have sat near hedgerows in the evening, listening as the world around them grew darker and the song of the nightingale grew clearer. Knowing that this small voice has been singing across the warm, quiet nights of human history is its own gentle comfort. Many salamanders are most active on cool, damp nights, especially after rains. They emerge from beneath stones and logs, walking softly across damp leaves, their skin glossy and wet. Some species, like the spotted salamander of North America, gather in large numbers each spring at small woodland pools, traveling through the night to lay eggs in the same ancestral ponds their ancestors used. On certain rainy nights, hundreds of these soft-bodied creatures can be seen walking across forest roads in the moonlight, all moving toward the same quiet pool, all guided by an ancient inner sense of place. Imagine that, an entire silent procession of gentle creatures crossing the cool, dark world together, each one no larger than a small spoon, each one perfectly knowing where to go. The desert hedgehog, smaller than its European cousin, lives in dry, sandy regions of North Africa and the Middle East. By day, it shelters in a shallow burrow or under a rock, escaping the intense heat. By night, it emerges to wander across the cool sand, hunting beetles, scorpions, and small lizards. It is remarkably tolerant of certain venoms, including some scorpion stings, which allows it to feed on creatures other animals avoid. Imagine a small, bristled body padding across a soft, moonlit dune, perfectly equipped for its world, perfectly at peace in a landscape we might find harsh. The desert at night becomes a place of cool sand, soft shadow, and tiny brave wanderers. Some nocturnal animals, like the kangaroo rat of the American deserts, can survive their entire lives without ever drinking liquid water. Their bodies are so efficient at extracting moisture from the seeds they eat that they meet all their hydration needs internally. They live in deep burrows, where humidity is higher and temperatures are stable, and emerge only at night to forage. They hop on long hind legs like miniature kangaroos, with large eyes and small front paws used to gather seeds. The thought of a tiny creature drawing a lifetime of water from dry seeds beneath the desert moon is almost magical, a small living lesson in quiet sufficiency. The greater bush baby, a relative of the smaller bush babies we mentioned, has a particularly remarkable habit. It often urinates a small amount on its hands and feet, then spreads it as it climbs through the trees. This may sound strange, but it leaves a scent trail that helps the bush baby and its companions navigate their territory in the dark. It is, in its own quiet way, a kind of gentle map-making, an old, soft technology of knowing where home is, where safe paths lie, where family has been recently. There is something tender in the idea that a small creature finds its way through the dark by remembering its own scent on familiar branches. The small spotted genet, a relative of the genet we mentioned earlier, is known for its delicate climbing ability. It can creep along the slimmest branches, slip through narrow gaps, and even balance along thin ropes or wires with surprising grace. By night, it pads through the shadows at the edges of forests and gardens, hunting small rodents and insects. They are mostly silent, only occasionally vocalizing with soft chirps or hisses. To picture a slim, ring-tailed body slinking quietly along a stone wall under starlight, pausing now and then to listen, is to picture the soft, secret poetry of much of the world's nocturnal life. The little brown bat, common in many parts of North America, can eat hundreds of insects in a single night. Despite their small size, they are tireless, gentle hunters of mosquitoes, moths, and beetles, helping to keep insect populations in balance in many ecosystems. They roost in caves, attics, and old hollow trees, sometimes in colonies of thousands, where the warmth of so many small bodies keeps them cozy through cold nights. They communicate constantly with high-pitched calls, mostly above the range of human hearing, and they emerge at dusk in soft, fluttering streams from their roosts. Imagine, for a moment, the long, quiet flight of a single tiny bat across a still summer pond, its small wings barely whispering, its little heart beating in time with the dark. Many species of moth, particularly hawk moths, are excellent pollinators of night-blooming flowers. Plants like the moonflower, the night-blooming cereus, and certain orchids open only after sunset, releasing their perfume into the cool air. The moths drift toward the scent, hover before the open blossoms, and sip nectar from long flowers using their slender, coiled tongues. In exchange, they carry pollen from flower to flower, weaving a quiet alliance between the plants and the night. Imagine a single white blossom opening slowly under starlight, its scent threading through the dark, and a single moth, drawn from far away, arriving on soft, dusty wings to share a quiet, dreamy meal. The world is full of such gentle agreements. The aardwolf, despite its fierce-sounding name, is one of the gentler members of the hyena family. Found in parts of eastern and southern Africa, it is mostly insectivorous, feeding almost entirely on termites. It uses a long, sticky tongue to lap up tens of thousands of termites in a single night, walking quietly through the grasslands while the world grows still. Unlike its larger relatives, it does not hunt large prey or scavenge. It simply wanders softly, lapping up small insects, doing essentially no harm to anything large. There is a quiet kindness in imagining such an animal, with such a dramatic-sounding name, living such a slow, modest life. Many species of moth and butterfly larvae, especially silk moths, spin their cocoons during the night when the air is cool and humidity is high. The caterpillar carefully releases a single thread of silk from glands near its mouth, looping and weaving it around itself in patient, repeated motions. Hours pass in soft, quiet work, often unseen by anyone, and slowly a small protective home is built around the caterpillar. Inside, an extraordinary transformation will take place. To picture a small green creature, suspended on a leaf in the cool dark, carefully spinning the walls of its own next chapter, is to picture one of the most patient, dreamlike processes in all of nature. The slow loris's enormous eyes are made even larger by a thin layer of cells called the tapetum lucidum, the same reflective layer found in many other nocturnal animals. In the slow loris, this layer gives them an especially intense gaze in dim moonlight, almost as if their eyes hold a soft inner glow. They blink slowly, move slowly, eat slowly, and live slowly, often staying up in the canopy for hours, gripping a single branch with their strong fingers and toes, reaching out only when something catches their attention. Their small lives unfold like long, quiet meditations among the leaves. Some species of nocturnal birds, like the oilbird of South America, use a form of echolocation to navigate the deep, dark caves where they roost. They produce a series of audible clicks, much lower in pitch than bat calls, and use the returning echoes to navigate the inside of caves where almost no light reaches. By night, they fly out into the forest and feed on fruits, especially the oily fruits of certain palm trees. Their cave-roosting colonies are warm with the soft sounds of murmured calls, the rustling of feathers, and the slow drip of water from cave ceilings. Imagine that hidden world, a colony of feathered creatures using sound to know their way home in absolute darkness, content among the stones. Some of the smallest and most delicate nocturnal creatures are the moonrats and tree shrews of Southeast Asia. Despite the name, the moonrat is more closely related to hedgehogs than to true rats, and its long, pale body and dark face make it look strangely otherworldly in the forest dark. Tree shrews are tiny mammals that scurry along branches, eyes bright, tails twitching, in a constant cheerful hurry. While not all are strictly nocturnal, many are most active at twilight and after dark. They live small, quick, busy lives, threading through the underbrush and lower branches, seemingly never quite still. There is something wonderful in the idea that, while you rest tonight, somewhere a tiny tree shrew is turning a small leaf over with its little paws, simply curious, simply alive. Many species of cat shark, smaller cousins to the larger sharks of the open ocean, are mostly nocturnal. They rest by day in rocky crevices and emerge at night to drift along reefs and sandy bottoms, hunting small fish and invertebrates. Their bodies are slim and patterned, sometimes spotted, sometimes marbled, with large dark eyes well suited to dim water. They are gentle creatures by oceanic standards, generally harmless to humans, and they wander their nighttime reefs much as a small fox wanders a hedgerow quietly, patiently, knowing every turn. The sea at night is full of these slow, careful lives, glimmering through dark currents like soft thoughts in a dreaming mind. Let's drift here a little while before we walk on through the night. Take a long, slow breath in, and let it out even more slowly. Let your shoulders settle. Let your hands relax. Let your jaw soften. Notice the feeling of the air moving across your skin, of the blanket against your body, of the pillow beneath your head. Notice how, with each breath, you sink just a little more deeply into where you are. The world holds you tonight. The bed holds you. The room holds you. The earth, slow and round and patient, holds you just as it holds every quiet creature out under the stars right now. You are not separate from the night. You are part of it. Your soft breath is part of the slow chorus of the world's resting and waking. There is so much you do not need to know tonight, so much you do not need to solve. The smallest decisions can wait. The largest worries can wait. Tomorrow will be wide enough for them. For now, all you have to do is rest. All you have to do is be here, listening, drifting, letting the words and the night blur softly into one another. You're doing wonderfully. There's no rush. Let yourself drift. Let yourself rest. We'll continue as the night continues, gently and on. The North American flying squirrel sometimes glows under ultraviolet light, a strange, soft pink fluorescence that scientists discovered only relatively recently. No one is entirely sure why. It may help with communication, or with navigation in dim moonlight, or with avoiding certain predators that see in the ultraviolet range. Whatever the reason, it is a gentle reminder that the world holds many secrets we have only just begun to glimpse, and that even creatures we thought we knew well may hide quiet wonders. To imagine a tiny squirrel softly glowing as it glides between trees, all unaware, is to imagine a small, secret poetry hidden inside the everyday night. Many species of nocturnal animal are deeply tied to the cycles of the moon. The hatching of certain corals, the surfacing of certain ocean creatures, the singing of certain frogs, the foraging of certain hares, all are subtly influenced by the changing brightness of moonlight through the month. Some creatures hunt more on dark nights, when prey can hide less easily. Others hunt more under full moons, when their prey are most visible. Over countless generations, lives have shaped themselves around the slow, silver clock in the sky. Knowing that a single moon, far above, gently choreographs so many small lives is a quiet kind of wonder. Bats, despite their long association with darkness in old stories, are remarkably gentle and important members of many ecosystems. Many species are essential pollinators, especially of certain fruits like agave, durian, and some bananas. Without their nightly flights from flower to flower, those fruits might not exist in the abundance we know. Their small, fluttering bodies, their soft, leathery wings, are part of an enormous invisible economy of pollination that keeps the world green. Tonight, somewhere, a bat is hovering in front of a pale, fragrant blossom, sipping nectar, dusting itself softly with pollen. It is a kind of quiet service, repeated thousands of times in the dark. The tarantula, despite many people's wariness, is a mostly slow, quiet, nocturnal creature. They live in burrows or hidden corners, emerging at night to hunt insects and small invertebrates. Their movements are usually careful, deliberate, and not at all the rapid, jerky motion sometimes shown in films. They can live for many years, especially the females, sometimes as much as 20 or more, slowly tending their burrows, waiting at the entrance for prey to wander by. Imagine a soft-bodied creature, with delicate hairs on its legs, sitting calmly in the entrance of its burrow under starlight, waiting patiently, like a small, gentle monk of the night. Many species of spider build their webs at night or just before dawn, weaving them anew each time. Each strand of silk is produced by glands inside the spider's body, drawn out with careful, delicate movements of the legs. By morning, the web glistens with dew, a temporary architecture of sunlight and silk. By the following dusk, much of it may already be reworked. Imagine the patient art of a single spider, alone in the night, anchoring threads from leaf to leaf, drawing a soft circle in the darkness, finishing just as the world begins to lighten. Their lives are short, often only a year, but each night they create something new, something fragile and beautiful. Many sea creatures, especially in the deep ocean, perform what is sometimes called the vertical migration, the daily movement up and down through the layers of the sea. As night falls, vast numbers of small fish, squid, krill, and other tiny animals rise from the dark depths toward the surface to feed in cooler, safer waters. By the early light, they sink down again into the deep, away from light and predators. This is one of the largest movements of biomass on Earth, repeated every single day, mostly unseen. The sea, while we sleep, is full of slow, vast, gentle motion, an enormous breathing, in and out, up and down with the rhythm of the night. The pale, ghostly white of certain owl species, like the snowy owl of the Arctic, is not just camouflage against snow. It also seems to give them a kind of almost otherworldly presence in the long polar nights, when sunlight barely scrapes the horizon. They drift over windswept tundra under skies that may glow faintly green with auroras, their soft white feathers catching what little light there is. Their world is vast, cold, and quiet, and they are perfectly tuned to it. There is something deeply peaceful in imagining a single snowy owl drifting silently above a frozen plain, untouched by the noise of our human world, simply being a piece of the long, silver dark. Some nocturnal creatures, like certain centipedes, scorpions, and spiders, glow under ultraviolet light. Scorpions in particular shine a strange, soft greenish blue under a black flashlight, due to certain compounds in their exoskeletons. Why this happens is still uncertain, but it's a wonderful reminder that we share the world with creatures whose lives partly take place in spectrums of light we cannot see. The desert at night, lit only by stars and a small ultraviolet beam, can become a softly glowing scene of strange, gentle creatures, going about their lives in a hidden, visible world. The world is endlessly more wondrous than our daytime eyes alone can know. The European badger, sometimes called Eurasian badger, lives in close family groups called clans. Multiple generations share the same set, and members groom one another, play together, and use small grunts and squeaks to communicate. By night, they fan out from the set to forage along familiar trails, returning by dawn. They can be remarkably playful, sometimes seen sliding down small earthen banks or wrestling with one another in the moonlight. There is something deeply heartwarming about imagining a clan of badgers tumbling softly together in the silver light of a meadow, their stripes catching the moon, before settling down again into the cozy depths of their underground home. The mountain lion, or cougar, is largely solitary and largely nocturnal, traveling great distances each night across forests and mountains. A single cougar's territory may stretch over many hundreds of square kilometers, and they tend to walk well-known routes, often the same ridges and valleys their ancestors used. Despite their size and quiet power, they are remarkably soft-footed, almost ghost-like, and most people who live in cougar country never see one. They simply pass through, slow and quiet, in the blue hours, as another silent thread woven through the night. Knowing that such large, quiet animals still wander the wild places, mostly unseen, is its own quiet comfort. Many small nocturnal creatures use whisker-like sensory hairs, called vibrissae, to navigate in the dark. Cats, mice, rats, weasels, foxes, otters, and many others have these specialized hairs, deeply rooted in nerve-rich follicles. The whiskers can detect tiny changes in air movement, allowing the animal to sense walls, obstacles, or moving prey, sometimes without even having to look. They are, in a sense, gentle antennae of touch, helping their owners understand the world through soft, careful contact. Imagine a small mouse navigating along a wall in the deep, dark night, guided not by sight but by the soft brush of the air against its long whiskers, knowing exactly where to step. Many species of nightjar, including the European nightjar and the whippoorwill of North America, have evolved soft, almost cryptic plumage to blend into bark and leaves while they rest by day. By night, they hawk insects through the air with great agility, their wide mouths open in flight to catch moths and beetles. Some have small bristles around the mouth, helping to funnel insects in. Their flight is light, agile and looping, almost like the swift, silent ballet of a bat. To hear a nightjar's distant churring or whippoorwill call across a quiet country evening is to hear one of those sounds that used to mark every summer night, and that, where it remains, still feels like a gentle gift. The hippopotamus, while not strictly nocturnal in the way many of our other animals are, often becomes more active during the night. By day, hippos rest in the cool waters of African rivers and lakes, their massive bodies submerged with only eyes, ears, and nostrils above the water. By night, they emerge onto land to graze on grasses, sometimes traveling several kilometers from the water in search of food. Despite their great size, they walk quietly through the dark, following well-worn paths that their families have used for generations. To picture a hippopotamus stepping softly through African moonlight, breathing deep and slow, is to picture a creature that holds one of the older rhythms of the world, a slow, patient walking through the long night, year after year. The platypus, mentioned earlier, is also one of the very few venomous mammals, with the male having a small spur on each hind leg that can deliver venom. But this is rarely used, and almost never on humans. For most of its life, the platypus is simply a soft, brown, otter-like creature, paddling through cool, dark streams, hunting with closed eyes and a sensitive bill, surfacing now and then to breathe and drift. There is something especially dreamy about watching a platypus float on the surface of a still pond at twilight, its small, round body rocked gently by its own ripples, before it slips, with a quiet flick of its tail, beneath the dark water once again. The most populous nocturnal creatures in the world might well be the countless small invertebrates that work the soil and forest floor in the dark. Earthworms, for instance, often come closer to the surface at night, especially after rains, mating and feeding in the cool, damp air. Without them, the soil itself would not be the soft, fertile thing it is. They quietly turn the earth, breaking down leaves and old plant matter, aerating the ground, making space for roots to grow. Their work is mostly invisible, mostly unseen, but it is the slow, patient foundation on which forests, meadows, and gardens all stand. Tonight, while you rest, countless tiny lives are moving through the soil beneath your home, simply doing what they have always done, simply keeping the green world alive. And finally, let's think for a moment about the simple, quiet truth that every continent on Earth has its own nighttime creatures. From the polar bears walking long Arctic twilight, to the tiny insects of equatorial rainforests, to the lemurs of Madagascar, to the wallabies of Australian outback, to the foxes of suburban gardens, to the spiders in the corners of warm rooms in every country in the world, the night is alive everywhere. It is never empty. It is never silent. It is full of small, careful, beautiful lives, all going about their patient evenings, all sharing this one small planet, all turning together with the slow, steady spin of the earth. Whatever continent you happen to be on, whatever room you are resting in tonight, you are not separate from this great gentle network of nighttime life. You are simply a soft, breathing part of it here, in this one quiet moment. And so slowly, gently, Our long, soft journey through the world of nocturnal animals begins to draw to its close. We have wandered through forests and meadows, deserts and rivers, oceans and tundras, mountain ridges and quiet suburban gardens. We have met owls drifting on hushed wings, bats weaving songs of sound through the dark, foxes trotting silently along snowy fields, hedgehogs snuffling through dewy lawns. We have stood at the edges of glowworm caves, drifted alongside fishing cats at the edges of moonlit rivers, listened to the soft duets of tarsier families singing in the leaves. We have visited platypuses paddling in still streams, cockapos booming gently in mossy New Zealand forests, and eyes tapping carefully on hollow trees in Madagascar. So many small lives, so many quiet wonders, and not one of them needed us to know they were there, to be exactly what they are. If you are still with me, even partly, even drifting in and out, that is wonderful. And if you've already slipped softly into sleep, then I'm glad my voice could be a small companion as you went. Either way, you've done beautifully tonight, simply by being here, simply by allowing yourself to rest. There is nothing more anyone needs from you in this moment. There is no test, no list, no task remaining. There is only this gentle ending of the night's wandering and the soft beginning of your sleep. Imagine, just for a final moment, that you are looking out over a wide, quiet landscape under the moon. The forest below you is dark but not empty. Small lights glimmer here and there, the eyes of foxes, the soft glow of fireflies, the faint sheen of dew on a spider's web. An owl sweeps quietly over a clearing, never making a sound. A hedgehog snuffles through fallen leaves at the edge of a path. A bat traces a wide, silent arc across the stars. The world is very, very full of life, even in its stillness. And the night, in all its softness, is simply holding all of it, gently and without effort, the way a great patient parent holds many sleeping children at once. You are part of that picture. You are one more breathing creature beneath the soft canopy of the world. Tonight, you don't have to be more than that. You don't have to be productive or strong or right or finished. You don't have to be more awake than you are. You don't have to hold any of the day's small troubles any longer. You can let them down, like a heavy bag set finally on the floor, and step away from them for a while. They will still be there in the morning if they need to be. But for now, you are allowed to put them down. Let your breath grow slow and warm. Let your body grow heavy and soft. Let the bed beneath you feel like it is gently cradling you, like the soft floor of a forest holding the small, sleeping bodies of nighttime creatures. Let your shoulders, your jaw, your hands, your forehead, all soften. Notice how the room around you holds you in a quiet, patient way, asking nothing of you. Notice how, with each gentle breath, you grow a little more relaxed, a little more drifting, a little more at home in this soft moment. Outside somewhere, a small creature is going about its nightly journey. Somewhere, an owl is dropping silently from a low branch toward a moonlit field. Somewhere, a bat is gliding above a quiet pond. Somewhere, a fox is trotting along a hedge in the cool blue hour. Somewhere, the moon is moving slowly across the sky, just as it has done for billions of years, just as it will continue to do, long after this night is gone. None of that asks anything from you. None of that needs your worry. The world is wide and the night is patient and life carries on. Thank you for spending this part of your evening with me. Thank you for being here, for trusting your rest to a quiet voice and a long, drifting story. It is a small, lovely thing that we got to share this slow walk through the dark together. I hope it brought you a little ease, a little softness, a little wonder for the small lives that share this world with us. If you'd like to wander with me again on another night, you can simply find your way back here. There will always be more soft journeys, more sleepy science, more slow, gentle stories about the strange and beautiful things that fill our world. You don't have to remember when. You don't have to plan it. The path here will always be open, and if it feels right, a quiet little subscribe or a soft like sometime when you're awake helps these little lanterns keep glowing. But there's no need to do it now. Now is for sleep. Let your eyes stay closed. Let your body remain still and warm. Let the words slowly fade the way fog fades into a soft morning. Let your thoughts slow into quiet, harmless drifting. There is nothing you need to do now except be here in this kind night and let yourself rest. The owls will keep flying. The bats will keep singing. The foxes will keep walking. And the moon will keep moving across the sky, watching over them, watching over you in its old, patient way. Rest now, dear listener. You're so welcome here. You can simply listen and rest. There is no rush. There is nothing to do now except be here, breathing softly, drifting kindly into the gentlest sleep. Let yourself drift. Let yourself dream. Let the night hold you just as it holds all its small, gentle creatures. You are safe. You are warm. You are wonderfully, beautifully here. Good night, sweet listener. Good night, sleep well, sleep deeply, sleep long.